Dragon Slayers, a game written by Spencer Campbell, is a high fantasy TTRPG that uses Campbell's Slayer system from 2021. In this game, characters are heroes who travel the world, take on epic quests, and fight dangerous monsters. I know. That makes it sound like literally every other fantasy TTRPG out there. But if you are familiar with Slayers, or basically with any other game by Spencer Campbell, you know that there is more to it. In this video, I want to share the 3 things I love most about Dragon Slayers, and why you should throw your money at this fantasy adventure. One thing that you see in many TTRPGs that use classes, or some semblance of them, is a certain symmetry in their design. While each class offers its own flavor, they all adhere to the same core design elements of the game. This could be a matter of structure, like all classes following a certain growth curve, like gaining ability score increases at certain levels, or picking a subclass at some point. In these games, all classes also follow the same core mechanics set out by the game. In a game like D&D, a cleric and wizard are 2 different classes with their own features, but functionally, both of them are spellcasters who follow the same spellcasting rules. Just like its predecessor Slayers, Dragon Slayers throws most symmetry out of the window and gives each class its own unique core mechanic. Sure, there is still some symmetry. Each class has certain types of actions like class and rest actions, but they all come with their own funky core mechanic. As a barbarian, you want to get hit to increase the dice in your attack pool, allowing you to make deadlier attacks the more you are wounded in combat. The bard has a pool of perform dice, which they roll when using one of their abilities. They then look for pairs and straights among the dice rolled, amplifying their bardic powers. The fighter manages 2 different dice pools, sword and shield, swapping between them as they switch between offensive sword attacks and defensive usage of their shield. My favorite thing about this asymmetry is that each class's core mechanic doesn't just feel like a fun dice gimmick, but actually supports the fiction of the class. For example, this design draws a clear line between what a barbarian is in contrast to a fighter. One is a raging frontliner who gets stronger the more they are wounded, while the other is a tactician adjusting their strategy to whatever the situation demands. These fun mechanics give each class not just a clear mechanical role, but really underline their flavor. Love it. Dragon Slayers is very much a game about heroes traveling through a dangerous world, fighting monsters, and unearthing powerful treasure. Many games closer to D&D and its relatives revel in managing your coins and items, and it's an element I do enjoy myself when playing a game such as Pathfinder. However, the bookkeeping can be time-consuming, and making sure you as a GM provide the right amount of treasure without upsetting any sense of balance can be hard. Luckily, Dragon Slayers abstracts treasure and wealth and doesn't really care about balance. We'll talk more about balance in a bit, but let's first talk about treasure in this game. In Dragon Slayers, the party tracks their amount of raw treasure through a wealth die. This die starts as a D4 and increases in size when the party loots a treasure hoard, is paid for a quest by a patron, or after any other event that would reasonably increase the treasury of the party. Whenever the party is looking to acquire an item, they roll the wealth die, and on a success, are able to procure whatever they were looking for. The wealth die then decreases in size. It's easy to track and requires a lot less bookkeeping. Magic items in Dragon Slayers are very straightforward. They are either mechanically or narratively defined. Mechanically defined items provide actual mechanical benefits, like a bonus to health or speed. Narratively defined items provide powers that are interpreted by the table during play, such as being able to detect lies or walking on walls like a spider. Each character can only ever carry up to 3 magic items. What I appreciate most about this approach to magic items is that the game clearly declares that narratively defined items don't need a lot of mechanics, but just a short description that can be interpreted within the fiction of the game. Dragon Slayers is not the game in which you need to know the specifics of what it means to always be able to detect lies, if that effect can be resisted, or only used a certain number of times per adventuring day. It is unapologetic in its philosophy about not caring about balance, which leads me straight into my favorite part of this game. There's quite a few TTRPGs with fantastic GM sections explaining to the GM how to run the game. One thing I don't see often enough, however, are GM sections in which the game's designer speaks directly to the reader and explains parts of the design philosophy. This helps someone who plays or facilitates the game to understand the why of things, which helps putting mechanics and gameplay into context. Dragon Slayers does provide this, and it goes a long way in making potential GMs, or in the case of this game, DMs, which means Dragon Master, understand why the game is the way it is. The DM chapter starts off by explaining the author's view on balance. Dragon Slayers has no rules for balance encounters or item design because its creator, Spencer Campbell, believes balance should not really be a thing in games. Campbell dedicates an entire page to his stance on balance and how it informs the way Dragon Slayers is designed. It also includes advice for DMs on how to still offer players a fun experience without highly detailed rules for the sake of balance. Now, I will say that Spencer Campbell and I probably have very different views on the role of balance in TTRPGs, but that is an entirely different conversation. What matters is that the creator of this game has taken the time to explain his vision to the reader, which puts the rules and mechanics in this game into perspective. I admire game designers who share their design philosophy with the players of the game, especially if that philosophy then echoes within the actual game mechanics. Of course, Dragon Slayers does not have intricate math for monsters and items, because that is not what the author wants the game to be about. If you sat down and analyzed all the classes, you could probably create some mathematical proof that some classes and their core mechanics are better than others, but this is not a game of power tier lists and fine-tuning your character build. This is a game about fast-paced fantasy adventures and epic stories, and the author himself just told you. To me, it also signals how to modify the game. Sure, I could homebrew rules to make magic items more intricate and balanced, but would such a modification ever truly work in a game that is designed to not focus on balance, and instead wants you to rather spend time on making dynamic, interesting, and narratively exciting moments for your heroic player characters? I don't think so. I also want to shout out the section on asymmetry in this chapter. It addresses a very realistic concern any DM might have in regards to every class working differently. How are you, as the facilitator, going to make sure you remember all of these mechanics on top of all the other stuff you have to keep track of? Well, you don't. This section emphasizes how it is your player's responsibility to know how their class works and manage its mechanics. Their character is theirs to master, so you free up headspace to run a fantastic game together. This advice is universally applicable, and you should take this approach in practically every game you will ever run. All of the DM chapter is filled with these peeks into Campbell's design philosophy and just great general advice. It is truly the part of the game that got me most excited, as it gave me a clear understanding of the game's design goals and the author's vision. Love, love, love it. And these are my 3 favorite things about Dragon Slayers. If you want to check out this game, which you definitely should, follow the link in the description. Let me know in the comments below what you like about this game, or if you think TTRPGs really need to be balanced. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, stay safe, take care, and Bye bye.